Today we get into the final piece of the graphing quadratic equations system, in that we're going to be graphing functions in standard form. So our first step, when we look at y equals x squared plus 8x plus 8, is going to be to determine that axis of symmetry, which, if you recall, is where we use x equals the opposite of b over 2a. And if we look here, our b is 8, so opposite of b would be negative 8, over 2 times a, which is not written there, so therefore is 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2, negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So therefore, our axis of symmetry is x equals negative 4. The second piece to our puzzle is going to be to determine that vertex, which, if you recall once again, that's going to be to take this axis of symmetry here and put it into the original equation to get our y. So now we have y equals x squared, which is negative 4 squared, plus 8x, so 8 times negative 4, and then we have plus 8. Well, 4 squared is 16, plus a negative 32, plus 8. 16 plus negative 32 is negative 16. Negative 16 plus 8 is negative 8. Therefore, our vertex is negative 4, negative 8. For step 3, we are going to determine the y-intercept, which, again, if you recall, we are taking y and setting x equal to 0. So we have y equals 0 squared plus 8 times 0 plus 8. Well, 0 squared is 0, 8 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, plus 8 is 8. Therefore, our y-intercept is going to be 0, 8. Step 4 is then going to be to plot and connect all your points. So we realize we don't have a ton. We actually only have 2 points, but we're going to use that axis of symmetry to get the rest of our values. So we're going to start off, we have a negative 4, negative 8, and 0, 8. So negative 4, negative 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 0, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And our negative 4 is that axis of symmetry. So then I'm going to go ahead and say, well, I'm going to look here. I see that my point up here, my y-intercept is 4 away, so I'm going to 4 away in the other direction. And then I'm also going to take the time and say, well, if x, I'm going to make my own little t-chart here, and I'm going to deal with negative 2 and negative 4. And so negative 2 is going to be negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 8. And so negative 2 squared is 4 plus negative 16 plus 8. So 4 plus negative 16 is negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. So now I have negative 2, negative 4. And I know that due to symmetry, that if I go, I apologize, not negative 4 here. This is negative 2. I'm going to then go 2 on the other side of this, 2 here, and that's negative 6. And I know by symmetry, when I look here, that that is also going to be here at negative 4. So then finally, our job is going to be to nice and neatly graph our points to the best of our ability. Let's now take a look at a couple more examples. We have here y equals negative x squared plus 6x minus 1. So first I'm going to get that axis of symmetry, and that's going to be x equals the opposite of b over 2a, which is the opposite of 6 over 2 times negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is positive 3. So x equals 3 is our axis of symmetry. Then I'm going to put that back into the original equation to get my y value for the vertex. So the opposite of 3 squared plus 6 times 3 minus 1. So that gives me negative 3 squared is 9, so negative 9 plus 6 times 3 is 18 minus 1. So negative 9 plus 18 is positive 9, minus 1 is 8. So my vertex is 3, 8. And then my y-intercept is going to be y equals the opposite of 0 squared plus 6 times 0 minus 1. 0 squared is 0, opposite of 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Therefore, my y-intercept is 0, negative 1. So now when I go down here, I have 3, 8, so 1, 2, 3 over, 8 up. I have a y-intercept of negative 1. And I have a axis of symmetry of 3. So I go here. So I know here. So then what I am going to do is I'm going to pick another point, make an XY table. I'm going to pick one away from the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to pick here and here, which is going to be 2 and 4. And I know that those will be the same values by the value of symmetry. So if I put in 2, I get the opposite of 2 squared plus 6 times 2 minus 1. So that is negative 4 plus 12 minus 1, which is negative 4 plus 12 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So I know I have 7s here. So I will put in 2, 7, and 4, 7. I also know that 3 away from the axis of symmetry will be another value, and then I can make my curve, and I am done. Let's go ahead and try another example. I want you to try negative 3x squared minus 12x minus 8, then hit play when you are done. Let's start with that axis of symmetry. And we have the opposite of b, which is 12 over 2 times negative 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 12 times negative 6 is negative 2. So x equals negative 2. Then we move on to finding our vertex. And that vertex is going to be y equals negative 3 times negative 2 squared minus 12 times negative 2 minus 8. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Minus 12 times negative 2 is positive negative 24, so it'd be plus 24 minus 8. Negative 12 plus 24 is positive 12. 12 minus 8 is 4, which means my vertex is negative 2, positive 4. And then finally we'll finish that off by finding the y-intercept. So y equals negative 3 times 0 squared minus 12 times 0 minus 8, which if you haven't noticed by now that the terms that have x squared and the terms that have x will cancel out because of them being 0, and that constant term is going to be your y-intercept. If you haven't figured it out, learn it now. And if you have figured that out, please feel free to jump right to that this is 0, negative 8. So I'm also going to make an xy table, and we'll take a look at what xy values we're going to use in just a second. So I'm going to first draw in my axis of symmetry at negative 2. Might as well get that taken care of right away since I'm going to be scrolling up and missing that out of the picture. And then I have points of negative 2, 4 for my vertex and 0, -8 for my y-intercept. I know that on the other side of the axis of symmetry, I will have another point that is symmetric and even. And then I'm going to fill in values. I'm going to go here and here because those are in between. So -1 and -3. If I put -1 into my equation, I get y equals -3 times -1 squared minus 12 times -1 minus 8. -1 squared is 1. That would be -3 plus 12 minus 8. -3 plus 12 is 9. 9 minus 8 is 1. So therefore, that point is going to be -1, 1, and therefore -3, 1. So I'll plot those points, and then I'll draw in my curve. Make sure you get a nice curve here and not make it look V-shaped. And then finally, our last example, we have y equals 1/2 x squared minus 2x plus 9. So let's start off. After you get a chance to go over this, we'll go over it in just a second. So let's start off with that axis of symmetry. And we have the x equals the opposite of b, which would be 2 over 2a, which is 2 times 1/2. 2 times 1/2 is 1. So therefore, it would be 2 divided by 1, which is 2. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Let's go ahead and draw that in right away. Then we can go ahead and find our vertex. Our vertex is going to be y equals 1/2 times 2 squared minus 2 times 2 plus 9. 2 squared is 4. 1/2 of 4 is 2 minus 4 plus 9. 2 minus 4 is -2 plus 9 is 7. So my vertex is going to be 2, 7. So we can go ahead and plot that point. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then finally, we will go with our y-intercept. So we have y equals 1/2 times 0 squared minus 2 times 0 plus 9, which, yep, you guessed it, equals 9. So my y-intercept is 0, 9. And as you can see, this is going to open upward, so we'll have another point over here. Being that this one goes off the graph right away, I do give you permission to use only those 3 points. Your job now is to go ahead and try the U-Try problem and bring your questions with you to class tomorrow.